Hey everyone, this podcast is part of Story Mode, the podcast network of Gamefully Unemployed. You can support us and gain access to other great exclusive podcasts at patreon.com/gamefullyunemployed. That's patreon.com/GAMEFULLY unemployed, which is spelled like it sounds.
We're always nailing it.
I mean,
Tom.
we're killing it. We're out here. We're out here slaying.
We're doing great.
Day
Hi,
in,
everybody.
day out. Hello. Hi.
My name is David Bell,
My name isn't. My name's Tom Ryman.
and we just watched The Cube. Not that one.
Still not
The
that
other
one.
one.
Still not that one.
Nope.
Still not that
one.
What is this?
I don't know. I was hoping you might know what it is.
What do you mean?
It was by the front door when I got home today.
Did it say it was from?
No, there's nothing on it. Do you think it's some sort of Chinese New Year's tradition? Like one of those weird Asian thingies?
Weird Asian thingies?
You know what I mean.
Oh, do I? It's just a red cube.
One of the IMDb user reviews for this film is a user review of the film Cube.
Yeah, that sounds about
Yeah,
right.
like it starts off with the sequels are too violent, but there's a good idea in this first one. I'm like, I don't think this is a movie you think it is.
Yeah.
I think you got the wrong movie.
this isn't a movie anybody right now thinks it is.
No.
All right, I'm gonna break it down for people. Mm-hmm. First of all, Burrito Mouth, thank you so much for preserving the bit.
Sure.
As always.
I Burrito Mouth, I acknowledge a begrudging respect of the bit.
Yep.
Of the bit.
Burrito Mouth does break from the bit eventually, but let me tell you, the next time, still a Cube movie.
Sure.
There's still Cube movies out there. But this one, if people are interested, they can go to www.thecubemovie.com. I'm not, at the top of this, look, we aren't being paid by Big Cube.
No, we're not in the
to
pockets of Big Cube.
advertise?
We're not in the square pockets of Big Cube.
Yeah, I bring up the webpage because it's literally the only place to watch this movie. You can go to thecubemovie.com and watch this if you're interested. It's about an hour and 15 minutes, or at least that's what it says. It feels like about 6 hours.
Right. It felt like roughly 14,000 hours long.
Yeah, and so I guess I want to give it some more context, because obviously Burrito Mouth didn't choose this because they were like, I love this movie, you got to watch it. They were like, I'm scraping the bottom
Right.
of the Cube
I
barrel.
am scouring the internet to find movies that have Cube in the title.
I don't think we're gonna hurt anybody's feelings.
I mean,
talking about this one.
Please understand, we're not trying to hurt anyone's feelings. Usually, when we make these podcasts, there's a couple of people whose feelings I definitely want to hurt, but I feel like it's clear when that's the case.
Yeah. This.
We're not out to hurt the feelings of the filmmakers or the crew or anybody involved in this film. That said, I hated this movie.
Right. Well, I wanted to give a little more context.
Sure.
That this movie,
Sure.
on the webpage, it really pushes the fact that this movie cost $500 to make. So that's what we're talking about. This is a primer. This is a coherence. This is a movie that is a no-budget movie. Although both Primer and Coherence had budgets, I think people know what I'm talking about, is that it's pushing the idea of, like, this is a no-budget movie. Mm-hmm. Check it out, everybody. And it's really flexing. Like, if you click on the webpage, there's like a link to be like click here and you can find out how we did it.
Yeah. There's like a bunch
get a
of like
free,
yeah.
Yeah, there's like a book that they made, like, for gear guide for making a film and, like, no crew filmmaking. And first of all, when you say we've only made this for $500, what I hear is we didn't pay our actors.
Yes, 100%. Well, one of the main characters is the writer director. So it's like really
that checks out.
Yeah. So really when you say we made this movie for $500, what you're saying is we got a lot of our friends to work for free.
Yeah. And then on top of that, all this idea of, like, check out how we made this film. What did we use? If you watch the film, it's like, yeah, I know how you made the film for $500. because the film's not very good.
Right. It's not
Like that's how you made it for $500.
Yeah, nothing about the production is impressive. It looks like you made it. It looks like you made it for $100.
Yeah.
Like, what are we?
Titular cube is a piece of wood painted red.
It's a wooden block painted red.
Yeah.
It's like something you buy at a craft store.
Yeah.
I've seen this block.
Yeah. This movie was too long.
This movie, okay, there's a number of the fact
Should
that,
we start with compliments? Should we? All right, just do it. Do your thing. Whatever you were going to say.
Okay, all right. This is what I was going to say.
Okay.
The technical issues notwithstanding, just put those aside. The fact that it looks every bit like a movie you and your buddies made on a weekend.
Right.
I mean, slightly more post-production. Like it was they clearly edited on some reasonably expensive software or something. The movie is pretty clearly a short that was stretched to feature length for no conceivable reason.
No conceivable reason. This movie could have been 20 minutes and featured zero dialogue. Mm-hmm. Like, here's the thing, is one of the first ways you know that you're watching a no-budget movie is the sound is bad. It's very hard to get good sound for $500. You need good mics.
Yeah, I think that's the thing that a lot of people don't realize. Like you'll shell out money for cameras or good editing software, and it's like the fucking where you're going to lose a lot of money is the sound.
Yes, and the person who made this clearly knew how to try to cover that up in post, but there's still problems because it sounds tinny. It sounds like a tin can. Yeah. Way too much gain, especially on the scenes where it's like clear that they had to bring it up in post, and then it's like really like it hurts your ears. It's so much gain. And the fact that this movie feels like they stretched it for time makes me think, okay, you're going to spend $500. Don't make a full-length movie because first of all, your script it's not a full-length movie script. Mm-mm. It stretches for time, and I can't stress that enough. There's 18 scenes that don't have anything to do with the plot. There's entire montages. Yeah, there's entire sequences of like the main character Yvette going to her work at a vineyard with her boss, and it's just like 15 minutes of these two characters bullshitting about stuff that has nothing to do with the story. Is that her boss? Yeah, she's the one that she not only is she her boss. This took me to the end of the movie to kind of figure out too. She's that woman is her boss and is also married to Bob, the main character's best friend, the Korean guy. Oh my god. Really? They're supposed to be a married couple. I didn't even know that. Yeah. They're both I don't think they have a scene together. Yeah. There's like the vineyard stuff. There's her job at the vineyard consists of they show her riding a tractor, clearly having never done that before, feeding cows. Her boss is wearing like formal wear on the vineyard. Yeah. So like I was confused. I thought it was like her friend visiting because I was like, you're clearly like going to a party or something later. And then they show her like touching a tree. Yeah. And then they like mostly walk around. It's a lot of them walking around outside and then an extremely awkward scene of her boss twerking in a wine cellar. Yeah, there's a lot of funny friend shit. Yeah. And I definitely want to get into the humor of this movie. Yeah, so much like quote unquote funny dialogue that is all it's doing is stretching for time. There was one line that legitimately made me laugh. And I guess I should again, most of this movie, no, not good. And we'll definitely talk about what the actual plot is in a second. Yeah. But I actually found the actors, not the characters, but the actors to be fairly charismatic people. If that makes sense, they could deliver a line good every now and then. Every now and then, there's a if they were maybe being paid and like had more time and budget. Well, like a couple of these, like I looked this movie up on IMDb, like the Yvette and Bob both have like a lot of credits. Good for them. Yeah, they all seem pretty good. It's hard for this movie, but the line "You look like you just had sex with a buffalo," I really enjoyed that line.
Oh, okay.
What? That's a great line.
My face, nary a muscle in my face moved when that line was delivered.
I'm not saying
I just
it
sat
worked.
there staring
I'm
at
just
the
saying,
screen dispassionately.
I like the line. The line tickled me.
Sure.
The only other line that I liked is where you just beating these children with a stick, even though the lead up to that is a really dumb scene.
That is one of the sweatiest scenes I think I've ever seen in a movie. Is that scene?
Yeah. That's pretty much all the good things I have to say about this movie. The plot.
I've got
plot,
I've got one more. I've got one more good thing I can add. I really enjoyed the music.
Oh yeah. I mean, a lot of it was like royalty-free music, I believe.
No, I sat through the credits because the credits actually do a thing. It's like an animated credit sequence, which was kind of impressive.
Yeah, it was a nice credit sequence for sure.
And it sort of, for people who for audiences who maybe had trouble with the film's like symbolism, I guess, the end credit sequence really holds your hand through it. Like if for some reason I should have
watched that.
If you maybe didn't figure it out that they're supposed to be Adam and Eve.
Yeah. So that is what it is, because that's dumb.
Yeah. It took me a while because they like his name is Udom, but they call him Dom, which is it's like a version of Adam. And then her name is Yvette.
So
anyway,
I guess the question is why though? So
I don't know. Right. I don't know. There's a couple of things. We'll talk about that. Yeah, for sure.
There's a big why, because it begins with quotes from the Bible and from Buddhist. I should probably know what a Buddhist Bible is called.
They just credited that quote as being from the story of Buddha. Like that's what it's credited as.
Right. So that could just be like the dude down the street from their production offices who like screams about the story of Buddha on the street, for all we know. And so it's this couple, and they have some cube problems. They get a cube on the on their doorstep, and it's red and it's wooden, and they're like, "What's with this cube?" And then nothing happens. It kills their plants.
Yeah, they don't know what to do with it, so they use it as like a planter, or like to like they put a potted plant on top of it, and it starts killing her plants.
They elevate a plant with it.
A plant
the plant
riser.
dies. Yeah, solid plant effect. I thought at the beginning I was like, man, I hope this movie wants me to dislike this man, because in the first 20 seconds of meeting him,
intolerable.
Yeah, he says, "I want your boobies and I'm horny," and then he does a Borat "I like that very much" impression. And I was like, so you don't want me to like him, right? Because
I'm supposed to want to beat the shit out of this guy, right? Because I kind of want to beat the shit out of this guy.
Yeah.
He was
he got more tolerable as the movie went on, but
a little like he had a problem. And a lot of like, it's going to sound really up my own ass. A lot of like amateur actors will do this, where they're like, they're too aggressive in their line delivery. So it's almost like he's like interrogating his wife a lot of the time. And I don't think I don't think it's intentional. I think that's just an inexperienced actor.
Yeah, no, he seemed aggressive is a good word for it. And then there's a lot of like American Pie humor in this, and it's really jarring for what the movie's about, because the main thread, it's like the box, like it's like some Donnie Darko bullshit where it's like they keep getting these cubes at their door.
The box was infinitely more interesting.
Yes. There's a part later where she says like, it would be huge if you could throw out the cube or whatever, and he says, you know what else would be huge, and takes off the towel that he's wearing, because he's only wearing a towel.
Yeah.
And then she goes, you should probably get that checked out, and walks away. And I was like, what is this? What are we doing?
Yeah, what is this?
What
film?
is happening?
Well, it reminded me of that Cold War movie we saw recently, which I think was made around the same time, because it's the same type of jokes where it's like, for some reason, there was a little bit of this in Uncle John too, except that movie was good.
Yeah.
Where it's like for some, like during this period of movies is when like Apatow comedies were the biggest comedies around. So there's like a lot of like sweatily inserted Apatow style bad improv. Even I'm sure a lot of this was written down, but it's like that style of joke where everybody has the same comedic voice.
What's weird about it though is that this isn't a comedy.
Not at all.
This is the story of. So basically, these cubes keep showing up. He asks his friend for help, like trying to film who's putting the cubes on, and then they start finally opening the cubes and finding like clues.
Mm-hmm.
Then they keep seeing a trash bag man, is what I called him.
Yeah,
and neither of them are concerned.
Yeah,
it's the funniest part of the movie.
She walks up. Okay, she is by herself in a park. I mean, it's the middle of the day, but it's like overcast and raining, and she's by herself to throw the cube away in a distant garbage can because they're afraid. At this point, they're afraid that it's like poisonous or something because it's killing the plants. And then she looks up and sees fucking Trash Bag Man, who looks like
he's wearing like a suit.
He looks like
and
fucking
like a
Slender
bag
Man.
on his head.
Like he looks like
it's
Slender
like a Slender
Man.
Man. Yeah.
He's just a faceless
Low
ghoul
budget.
staring
Low-budget
at her,
Slender
and she
Man.
just looks at him like, that's weird, and turns around and leaves. I was like, I can...
But they both do that because the previous scene, he goes to the exact same trash can, looks over, sees him, and just goes, and like walks away.
Now,
they both do it.
I can't say for certain how I would react if I saw No Face Trash Bag Man staring at me in his sharp little suit and fedora. I can tell you what I wouldn't do, and that's put my back to him at any time.
Right.
I would not turn around if I saw that thing. I would sprint backwards if I had to, but I would keep my fucking eyes on that faceless ghoul.
All right. What's extremely funny is that neither of them bring it up for the rest of the film until they see him again.
Until they both see him at the same time,
And they get so freaked out by the cube, and nobody mentions the trash bag man.
Right.
Because it's really funny because the cube is not threatening. The trash bag man is very threatening.
The trash bag man looks like a murderer.
Yeah.
The trash bag man looks like Dark Man on his way to like a formal gathering.
Yes. So
like Dark Man rented a suit is what it looks like.
So there's a lot of deviations that we'll get into, but like it's mostly cuts of them like doing stuff, and then they keep coming home and finding these cubes.
New cubes. Yeah.
They throw them away, and then at one point she carves "stop" into the cube, and this made me laugh so hard. And this is not a part that's supposed to be funny.
It's supposed to be scary.
She throws away the cube, and the next day they get the cube again, and it has "no" written on it, and she loses her fucking mind. She keeps repeating like, it said dumb, I wrote stop on it, and now it says dumb, I wrote stop on it, and I threw it away, and now it says no, did you hear me? I wrote stop on it. And she keeps repeating it.
Yeah.
And like it's like again, she already saw the trash bag man. She was unfazed by that.
Right.
Then
and
the friend finds out about it, and he's like, she wrote stop on it and said no on it? Oh my god. And they're freaking out, and it's like they're acting like it's supernatural,
right?
And it's
the
still
least
just
supernatural thing they encounter.
Yes,
and it's garbage man could be doing that to you.
Yes, there's this weird disconnect where they at first are like, "There's probably someone messing with us. Is it someone messing with us?" And then in other scenes, they treat it like it's a fucking demon, where they're like, the friend is like, I don't want to touch the cube. I'm not going near that. He's like really freaked out. He says something where he's like, can I make a copy of the tape that we put outside? And the friend goes, no, I'm not doing that. That's when the bad shit starts happening. And I was like, what horror movies are you watching? I guess The Ring?
I don't know. Like, I guess he's the character that's like, this is clearly supernatural and I am not going to fuck with it any longer.
But it's not. It reminded me of the Ghostbusters. No human being could stack books this way.
Right. It's like the movie we just watched, The Woman in the Window, where it's like, but she told me she's your wife, and now you're saying that this woman's your wife? How can that be? It's like, well, because the person you met wasn't her wife. It's like there's a fucking obvious explanation, which is, well, what did you do with the last cube that you wrote stop on? You threw it away. Okay. So literally anyone could have found that.
Yeah. And then the whole time, no one's being like, I did see a weird trash bag man person. Like, they keep being
Perhaps
like,
it is him who is giving
Yeah.
us this cube. Yeah.
Yeah, it's so weird that it just doesn't click with them that perhaps the creepy trash bag person.
I think that's part of it. It's like, all right, well, we're going to have to get to the ending of the movie for me to explain what I'm talking
All right,
about. Like,
we're explaining the
think
plot still.
that might be intentional because part of the movie is about the fact that they're not sharing things with each other.
Right. Because at the end, they both have secrets. She carried his baby and miscarried a few weeks later.
That was the wackest fucking line. Like, I
Right.
carried your child for 3... Nobody would say it like that.
No. Just like, I got pregnant.
Yeah,
I lost it 3 weeks
I don't know.
later.
I carried our child. If you still
Yeah.
wanted to stick to that weird fucking alien phrasing, but yeah, it's
Right.
yeah. Anyway,
And his secret is that he tried to catch a snake overseas.
well, it's where he stole the Buddha statue that they smuggled in,
Right.
and
which
the snake is.
Is that the apple?
No,
I don't understand. The cube is the apple, I assume, because it's red.
The cube is the apple / knowledge / enlightenment. Like, I think they're
Right.
supposed to be because there's two. Fuck. Let's just finish explaining the plot, and then I'll try to get into what I think this movie is trying to say.
So we're getting to the point where they leave the house because they're like, I can't mess with this cube business.
Mm-hmm.
And they go fuck off on the shore. This is all in Portland.
Yeah.
So it's gorgeous. Everything's beautiful in this movie, setting wise, but they didn't have any control over that. It's not a compliment on the movie.
Yeah, if you like rainy bullshit, it's beautiful.
Yeah, I love rainy bullshit.
Yeah.
They go to the ending of the Goonies, and they
They sure do.
yeah, and they go to this cabin. For a second, it's good, and then they get another fucking cube, and they've been pulling shit out of the cube. One is a drawing of like a barn factory, for some reason, and so they go there, and they also have a key that they got in the cube, and Trash Bag Man is there, and he yells at him, and it's really weird. And then he goes to touch him, and it turns into the ending of 2001 briefly, where it's like a weird dream sequence. And at this point in the movie, I'm like, okay, I know it's only been an hour and 15 minutes, but it feels like it's been a lot longer. I'm gonna need something to happen. And nothing does.
No.
They go through the door, and at the end they just show them with a loving, warm household. She's finally pregnant, which I guess they were trying. They weren't really trying. They had financial issues.
They had financial problems. He had issues with his job.
Right. They talked about the cleaners briefly. That was a conversation that didn't need to happen. Remember the dirty underwear?
Yeah, it's one of 30 conversations in this movie that are completely irrelevant.
And at the end, it's there. She's. Yeah, I did. Okay, so my final note, this is me understanding the movie. My final note is, okay, Apple's pregnant, Eden, sure, whatever. That was my last note. So that's it. It was just it's Apple's, and she's pregnant, and they're in their own little paradise or something.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if it's fantasy or real. And then the movie just sort of ends, and it was like, oh, so that was all for nothing. I didn't need to watch any of that.
Yeah, pretty much.
Because here's the thing, is that movies mean things, but they still have to make sense in the... You know what I mean?
It should still be a story.
Yeah, unless you're Lars von Trier and could get away with any bullshit, you need to tell a story. I want to really quickly point out that movies like Coherence and Primer and no-budget movies, what makes them work is that they tell a compelling story.
Yeah.
And so, you can make a movie on $500. You need to have a good script, a script that works for that. And if you don't, then,
Then you get the cube. Don't make a whole website being talking about how you fucking created this film for $500 and then have this be the film.
Remember
flexing so hard for this movie.
Remember Xander Berkeley Booth movie show. Sander Berkeley booth show. What was
Right.
that called? The booth at the end?
Yeah, the booth at the end. Yeah,
You write a script like that. A script where it's just people sitting.
in a
But
booth. That's all it is.
Exactly. You can, Coherence, a movie that I love, takes place in a single suburban house.
Yeah.
It's not particularly well shot, I shouldn't say that. You can see that it has a low budget. Like, it's the technically speaking, they're clearly working on a very low budget, and it's one of the biggest movies I've watched because of what it's about.
Yeah, and
The point is that you can do a lot with a little if you have the right script.
if you have a good script and you have good performances, like we mentioned,
Right.
I haven't seen Coherence, but we watched The Booth at the end, I think, for one of these episodes, and that show
Yeah.
is fucking captivating.
Yeah. But you don't make a movie like, I don't know, The Forgotten with Julianne Moore. You don't make that on $500. And that's what this feels like. Does that make sense?
Kinda, yeah.
It's like a high concept kind of sci-fi-ish surrealist thing that kind of requires a lot of setups
Right.
and a lot
it's
of
like if fucking
work.
It's like if Aronofsky tried to make The Fountain with $500. It's like,
Exactly.
what the fuck? Like,
And
I think it's
sort
kind of like a
like-
similar story, but anyway.
Yeah, a plot like this kind of hinges on the visuals because there's not much to the story. That's why it's like, oh, make this a really good 10-minute short
Yeah.
that just looks really good. Don't do this.
Yeah, this should have been 10 or 12 minutes.
Yeah.
This is what I think this movie is about.
Go on.
So it starts with the quote from Genesis about Eve eating the forbidden fruit, and them being expelled from the Garden of Eden, and then there's the bit about Buddha being shielded from the monsoon by the Serpent King while he was like achieving enlightenment. So there's like two conflicting ideas about the nature of like knowledge,
Right.
whereas in the Bible, or at least the way it's presented in like the story of the Garden of Eden, is that the human, like this enlightenment is reserved for God and God alone, and he punishes humans for daring to try to get any,
Right, because he's a dick.
because he's a fucking asshole.
Yeah.
Buddha is the exact opposite. He achieves enlightenment, and then he's like, the only purpose is for me to now share this with everyone.
Right. It's like cocaine.
Yeah.
There's two types of cocaine people.
Mm-hmm.
There's people who are like, "Oh, I'm just going to quietly do this in the bathroom." And then there's people who are like, "You guys got to try this cocaine. Have you tried this cocaine yet?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
You got to check out this cocaine."
You either hoard your cocaine like a coke dragon,
Yeah.
like Aaron Sorkin.
Like Aaron Sorkin. Yeah.
Or, well, actually, I think Aaron Sorkin has a more of a Buddhist view of cocaine. Like, he's like, I'm going to do
you
a
think
shitload
so?
of coke, and now everyone gets to enjoy Miss Sloane. Not Miss Sloane.
Right.
Molly's Game.
Yeah. Miss Sloane's great.
Different Jessica Chastain movie.
Yeah. I love Miss Sloane.
I haven't seen Miss
Tom.
Sloane. I haven't seen that one.
It's real, like, it's one of those 90s thrillers, but made today.
Oh, fuck yeah.
So it's great. Yeah. She's
Catnip.
like a lobbyist, It's
Yeah.
like, oh, I'm a lobbyist, and there's gun lobby stuff, and she's like in a lot of offices making decisions,
Yeah.
Good
no,
stuff.
that's what makes a good, compelling film.
Oh, it's great.
Okay. So, like, I think the movie is about the intersection of those two ideas, but it's definitely more towards enlightenment needs to be shared.
Yeah.
Because that's what frees them. Like, they're living in a house that's almost completely white. Like, the only red is the cube for most of the movie, and then it starts to
Right.
like this like an interesting visual idea that could have been conveyed, in a 12-minute short, like we were saying.
I honestly, I'm not sure they did that on purpose.
I'm pretty sure, because red slowly starts to come in, and then in the last shot, there's a lot of red.
Really?
Yeah,
Okay,
in that last shot, there's a lot of red. She's wearing a red dress. There's red apples. There's actually red decorations when everything was white before. Yeah.
Okay, well, shit. I have to give them a little bit of credit there for trying.
Yeah, they thought about it.
That's solid. Yeah, they thought about it.
Like in the scene where he's like Googling to try to figure out what the wheel symbol is, he's holding a red throw pillow, but it's the only red thing in the shot, and it's the only red thing we've seen in the movie at this point that's not the
Right.
cube. So it's like he's brushing up against it, like he's like close to it.
Right.
Yeah.
This is film school symbolism we're talking
it's
about
film
here.
school stuff.
But
Yeah, this is Pleasantville.
honestly-
This is
honestly-
Pleasantville. But
But honestly, good job to them. I didn't even notice.
Yeah.
I wasn't looking for it because I hadn't given them the credit that they apparently deserve.
I wasn't looking for it. I noticed the pillow, and I'm like, well, everything else
Yeah.
is white. I bet that means something. And then the last shot is very, very obvious.
Yeah,
With it.
you could still do it
She
all.
is pregnant in a red dress, standing next to a
Right.
bowl of red apples.
Right. Yeah, this could all still be done in a 20-minute short.
In a short
But yeah,
with no dialogue, yeah.
no dialogue. Didn't need any dialogue.
But yeah, like when they touch the Raggedy Man, who is supposed to be, I forget, they're telling a story about it. What does he say? Like Naga?
Yeah, what is he?
I think he's like Dom mentions, I don't know anything about Buddhism, but
No.
he mentions like
Neither do
Naga, who's like a shapeshifter. He I think shapeshifted into the snake that shielded Buddha from the rain.
Cool.
Which is what I think is in that vial that they find in one of the cubes. Like I think that's the rainwater.
Okay.
I think. I don't know.
No, there's a moment where the movie comes to a halt and they're like, "Tell us about this statue
Yes.
and the lore." And I knew that was important. It was like the movie was trying to give us a lot of red herrings with other useless conversations, but that was such an obvious like, "Oh yeah, we snuck this in from overseas and we got it at a weird temple." And I'm like, "Okay, so that's probably the cubes thing," but they still like I was still looking for the literal translation of what's happening. So I was like, "Oh, okay, the statue's haunted or something." And then it's none of that because it's all the symbolism, not the literal in terms of the ending.
Yeah. So I think that's who the Raggedy Man is. Like, because they keep mentioning,
Right.
and then when they touch him at the end, we have that weird 2001 sequence. But there's a voiceover where they repeat the Naga is the shapeshifter. They can make himself look like anything he wants.
Oh yeah, they're putting that. Yeah, they're definitely.
So that's who that is. And then we hear the voice that says like, "Are you ready to return to the garden?" And that's when they use the red key on the door and walk in together. Now they're holding hands. So it's like, okay, they're Adam and Eve. They've been led back to paradise. And
so they were just Adam and Eve this whole time. They were living in Portland.
Well, I don't know if they literally were or not. Like it's hard to tell what's supposed to be literal in this film.
Right.
But yeah, I think that's the basic idea, is that they got back to paradise by achieving enlightenment and sharing it with each other as opposed to keeping it for themselves.
Right. And I think that's the symbolic version of what happened. Mm-hmm. The problem is there's no literal version, right?
The literal version is they come clean to each other. Like they're having problems in their marriage, and some of it is stemming from the fact that they're not telling each other some things.
They come clean, and then they touch a door, and then they go home. Mm-hmm. And he gets her pregnant.
Mm-hmm. They teleport home like Scott Pilgrim, and she's pregnant, and he's wearing a tie, which I guess means he has a new job.
He has a new job.
Yeah. I mean, it's. I'm being shitty there. It's very clear he's leaving for work in that scene.
Right. But yeah, it doesn't answer the question of what was the cube and why was it doing it and what did it do to them. Like it's the symbol. There's the symbolic answer.
That's the only answer. Yeah.
Yeah, and I don't know. I guess this movie is supposed to be more surreal than...
Yeah.
But the problem is that it's...
Impossible to tell.
All of that. It's impossible that all of that intercut with very, like, Judd Apatow wannabe
American
conversations.
Pie jokes. Intercut with Bob saying, "The fat Korean guy gets killed first. I'm leaving."
Yeah. Yeah, and him going, "You're not that fat."
He's not. Like that. Like
no,
I was really dumbfounded by that line.
But
where he's
also,
like, "I'm the fat Korean guy." I'm like, "You're fat?"
Also, the fat Korean guy gets killed first. No, he
doesn't.
Again, it was that scene where he was like, I've seen this movie. I was like, I don't know what movie you're describing.
I don't know what movie you're talking about. You're just taking a line from Evolution.
Yeah. It's really weird. Like they keep doing that, playing with the not this guy. I'm not gonna be. But again, it's just they're getting cubes brought to their house. Mm-hmm. Someone keeps putting cubes at their house. That's it. And they're wooden cubes. And like they're not like supernatural in nature.
No, they're like,
just cubes.
They're like the kind, and this might literally be what they are, but it's the kind of shit you give kids to fuck with in Color Me Mine. You
Right.
know, because you're not going to buy them like an actual thing because they're just going to shit paint all over it because they're stupid kids.
Exactly.
So you get them a block that nobody gives a fuck about.
Yeah.
And that's what
And
this
so-
block looks like.
Yeah, I couldn't figure out what he was so freaked out about. This is all right. So this is the friend. What's his name? Bob.
Bob.
He shows up, and he's fine. Again, like I said, everybody's fine. Like the actors.
Everybody's fine.
I mean-
Everybody has scenes where they're fine, and everybody has scenes where they're awful.
All right, and he shows up with all his spy equipment,
Yeah.
and like, there's a part where he whips out underwear with like shit stains on it, and he's like, "Oh no, how'd these get in here?" And they do a whole thing where then he reveals that it's being used to keep his money in. And he's like, "You thought I actually brought shit-stained underwear." And, like, it feels like it takes, like, I don't know, 5 minutes?
It takes a long time. It's a really sweaty gag.
Yeah, and it never... That's the kind of stuff we're talking about, where it's like, they're trying to do a fucking Lars von Trier plot, like the overarching plot about Adam and Eve.
Yeah,
And then they
like
do
a
this, like-
surrealist drama about religion and
Yeah.
like enlightenment, and then there's a shitty underwear joke thrown in there for no fucking reason. It's like
Yeah, and
really baffling.
I thought, like, oh, this underwear must play into the plot somehow, because, like, you know,
Because
why would they put
that's
it
how
in here?
storytelling works. You don't
Yeah.
when you're telling somebody a story, you don't stop and like laboriously give them details about like, okay, so this guy was driving. All right, let me tell you about this car, and just like break down the car for 5 minutes. You don't do that unless that's gonna matter in the story eventually, because why else would you stop to tell
Right.
your captive audience about this fucking car for 5 minutes?
Yeah. So you got an hour and change, right? Mm-hmm. To make your fucking movie.
And they already
You
clearly
have-
didn't have enough material to fill that hour.
Well, this is the thing that's so weird to me, is that you got roughly, how long was Clerks? I'm looking it up.
Like 120 maybe.
120. So you have about the length of Clerks. And like Clerks, well, unlike Clerks, Clerks decided to not add their really stupid, pretentious ending. They cut that shit right out. That's what this movie's like. It's like Clerks with the original ending, where there's a lot of like conversations that don't go anywhere. But that's, again, the point of a movie like Clerks versus this movie. So what I was getting at is that there's certain beats that I saw why they were in there. For example, they have to keep coming home to find a new cube, right? Mm-hmm. So they have to have a reason that they're not home.
Well-
that translates to like montages of her jogging,
You see-
or montages of her feeding cows.
Yeah.
And what you could do there is make scenes.
You could make scenes, and also like the
Scenes that inform us about the character.
the characters are like, I don't know, just a little bit more about the theme that you're trying to explore here, because it's
Right.
very muddled. Like we can't really quite piece it together, and it's not. I mean, we're not dummies. Like we
No,
watch a
but
lot of
that's
these.
That's the part that amazes me, is that it's like, okay, so you have a broad strokes of a short film, but it's not impossible to make this full length. You just have to give us more. Like you don't have to like in like.
Well, there's no
you just have to
story.
keep
There's
exploring
no
it.
story here. Yeah.
Exactly. You could do more with the couple and their financial problems. You can do more about like these secrets they're keeping from each other.
Right, like actually express to us that they're keeping secrets, because that's a reveal at the end.
Yeah.
For us as well as the characters.
Right. Well, they do mention these stories to other people earlier in the movie.
Does the
Or at least she mentions the miscarriage. He doesn't mention the snake. Wrangling.
Yeah.
He wrestles a snake. That's his secret. God, that sounds so weird. His secret is that while they were overseas, they went to a weird village and he wrestled a snake for the Buddhist statue. Mm-hmm. And he didn't tell her because it was dangerous. And he didn't know why he wrestled the snake. He was like in a trance. You could. Obviously, they didn't have the budget to do this stuff, I guess. So just don't make the movie. But like, Yeah, instead of like a scene of people walking on a vineyard or like a drawn out scene of someone driving somewhere, add scenes that, expand the plot. We don't need a guy to take out his shitty underwear and do a shitty underwear prank.
Yeah, and throw it on the other guy's face. Also, I want to be clear that the vineyard just looks like a field.
Yes. Yeah.
If they
I think it was a
didn't-
vineyard, but like we're not this isn't like Picard's vineyard. This is like some trees and
It looks like an athletic field. Like
Oh yeah.
we had to be told what. So it's not like that's like the level of like it looks like they just went down to the neighborhood park and we're like, yeah, this can be the vineyard.
Right.
Because that's what happens when you make a movie for $500. Anyway,
$500, yeah. We don't need a cleaners conversation. I guess what I'm getting at is that if they couldn't do that for time, then they need to go the other way with it and make a goddamn 15-minute short.
Yeah, and
It's very Birdemic.
Yeah.
It's a lot of like, we're going to spend a lot of time on these characters, not building up anything.
No.
Just kind of hanging out with them while they go to work.
Well, I mean, the first scene in the movie is the camera just parked in the passenger seat filming Yvette as she drives home, and it's like 2 minutes.
Yeah.
And that's how the
Straight out of Birdemic.
That's how the film opens, is just somebody driving.
Yeah.
And that's bullshit. It's like I'm not shitting on indie filmmaking. It's just like you didn't even have an idea here to like justify making a micro budget film. Like if the story like really was strong and like it was the powerful themes and a good idea, like none of the technical stuff matters. Like you forgive all of it if it's a good story, pretty much, right?
Right.
So it's like, I mean, fucking Clerks looks like security camera footage, and people love that movie. That launched his career.
Because he thought of an idea within his budget.
Mm-hmm. I mean, that movie cost considerably more than $500, but
it was $30,000. But it's still an idea within his. It would cost way less now.
Yeah, most of that was film.
Of that is film, and equipment. He shot at a place that he worked. He just shot at a location he had, and he figured out a script around it, which was people working at a place, hating their lives, and talking about pop culture. He didn't make it about the fucking Garden of Eden. It's that.
And it had an identifiable theme, too. It's about a guy who is stuck, or who believes he's stuck.
Yeah.
And wants to go back instead of forward.
Right. And so, like...
Very simple.
Primer, or again, Coherence, which is, again, Coherence just takes place in one goddamn house. Or rather, I should say it's shot in one goddamn house. It actually takes place in a different... I won't go into it.
Yeah.
But, like, it's all in the dialogue and just showing just what you need to show and realizing that you could make it for as cheap as you can make it. It's not a full-length movie, and it's not a short. It's an hour and 15, or not even. It's like...
And there's
nothing...
It is.
It's an hour and 15, and there's not enough meat in there.
There's also...
There's total room to add meat if they wanted to, and they just didn't. Because it cost $500.
Yeah, either they didn't have the inspiration or the money or both. Another problem with this movie, like we keep talking about, like Primer and Coherence, and even Clerks to a decent degree, like he found scripting reasons around explaining why they're filming overnight. Oh, somebody stuck gum in the locks. That's why the shutters are closed.
Exactly.
There's nothing clever about the filmmaking here. They approached this movie as if they were filming a quote unquote normal movie, right? Like they approached it the same way fucking Stephen Sommers approached The Mummy. Like they just approached it like you would a regular movie, not like you would, okay, I have $500 to make this film.
Right.
How do I do this in a way, because you can't just film it like a quote unquote regular film, because then all you're doing is showing your ass. Is what I'm saying make sense? Like it's like you wouldn't try to make The Avengers if you had $500.
No. That's the problem, is that you have to start with the fact that you have to start at the script. If you're like, I'm making a movie for $500, okay, I need to find a script where that's possible. The problem is that most serious filmmakers would just be like, it's not. Like, I'm not going to do that.
This is not the idea. Yeah.
The movie Coherence, by the way, cost $50,000 to make. Was shot over 5 days in a single house. That I guarantee that budget went to just getting actors and
sound.
Crew.
Yeah.
And crew and sound.
Yeah.
Yeah, and proper lighting, because I'm sure they had proper light. That's just, it's that where it's like you still have to sort of make a movie on a good enough budget, because otherwise, because that's the whole thing. This movie is just like no crew, $500, and it's like, yeah, and I see all 500 of those dollars on screen there. Like, yep, that's a $500 movie, all right. It just it would have been really cool if I was tricked by that. If it was like, wow,
if there was
I can't believe this cost $500.
Yeah, something clever, like something like, oh, this is how we're getting around the fact that we don't really have the budget to shoot a vineyard, or this is like us getting around the fact that we can't really convey the surrealness of what we're going for.
If they had made a movie like Pontypool is a movie that could actually have been probably made for $500 if you had like the right location already. Like a movie like that where it's like, oh, it's just mostly audio, it's just mostly one actor and them reacting. But even Pontypool, I don't think could have cost $500.
No, I was just looking it up because I was thinking like, oh, well, there's like,
no, I bet that's a pricey film.
Yeah, probably. Well, I was just going to say like Unsane, the Soderbergh film that he shot with an iPhone 7.
Oh, yeah.
Like I remember a lot of that marketing was like, he filmed this with an iPhone 7, and it's like, yeah, that will definitely, like, the smartphone cameras are getting pretty damn sophisticated. You could make a theatrical film, theoretically, with a smartphone camera. However, that's Steven Soderbergh, and he's got a budget of like $1.5 million, I think, to make that. Like that movie he shot it on an iPhone. It has Claire Foy in it. Like, it
still has to have good lighting.
Yeah.
It still has to have good sound. Okay, I thought this was going to be something. Escape from Tomorrow. Nope, that's also a $600,000 movie, which surprises me that it's that much. That was the movie that was mostly stolen at
Disney World, yeah.
Yeah, which is an interesting movie if you've ever seen it, because it does some cool stuff. I can see why that might have a budget.
It was a little more, one was a little more clever too.
Yeah,
like getting around the fact that they're stealing the footage, and that it has to, so they can't really do any staging or setups at Disneyland.
Okay, here we go. My Date with Drew.
Oh, sure.
$1,000 movie because he bought and returned a camera to make it. That's a documentary, though.
Yeah.
But like, I'm trying to think of how do you really make an effective movie?
I think it just goes back to the script has to be good.
Yeah, or you have to. Yeah,
and you have to can't really just, if you're gonna just shoot it like you would shoot anything else. Like Richard Donner would come in and shoot a fucking Lethal Weapon movie, or like some journeyman director would come in and film an episode of CSI. Like that's the way they approached this.
Right.
They didn't approach it like they had a budget of $500.
You know what movie you could make now for $500, and you could make it successfully, and it could almost look exactly the same? Blair Witch Project. At the time, that movie cost a lot because, again, film costs money. But if you got 3 actors who were invested enough to just believe in the project, you went out in the woods with a fucking...
They were also the crew for the most part.
Exactly. You go out with a fucking decent sound and a decent camera. But of course, obviously you can't do that anymore because it was already done. But like, yeah, it's just... with that low of a budget, it has to be part of the movie. It has to be part of the
exactly. Like,
and you're still sort of like, you talk to Abe or Adam, any of our like director friends or our producer friends, they're going to tell you like, no, we still need people on set for safety. You still need people on set for this and that. You still need to make sure they get fed. There's legal things that you have to do. So we're talking about a movie that's like irresponsibly low budget.
It's you and your friends. This is you and your friends made a movie. Yeah. I don't know. Is El Mariachi probably
the lowest you can go.
Probably, but and even again, he played it pretty fast and loose with things like safety.
Yeah, that was about 7,000, I believe. The Evil Dead was even fucking $250,000 to make The Evil Dead.
I'm in no way surprised. That is a very good-looking movie.
Yeah, I think a lot of that has to do with like. I think they started. Yeah, I'm looking at it. He started with $90,000 with investors, and so I think a lot of that is post production and studio and shit later after the fact, after like screening it and getting distribution.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's really hard to make a fucking movie.
It's hard to make a movie. It's really hard to make a movie for $500.
Exactly. And so, yeah, good for them for making this movie for $500. The problem is that it's not a mystery why. It looks like it was shot on a camera that was under $500.
Mm-hmm.
You know, like it looks like it was recorded with sound stuff that was under, if they're even counting that towards their budget, to be honest. Because, like, are they counting, like, you know, it was probably cut on Premiere.
Or Final Cut.
You know, like, yeah. And it's like, did you just already have that? You know, like...
Oh, yeah, that fucking program is like that much money.
There's no way of knowing what they count as the 500 budget.
Mm-hmm.
Again, I hope it just went straight to that woman. I hope that, like, because you said the person who made it plays the guy in this, right?
But there's 3 other actors in it. Well, technically,
I know, there's children.
5. There's 2 children. Yeah, those kids.
Yeah,
didn't get
we haven't even talked about
They paid those kids with a burrito. I don't want to talk about it. We're almost at an hour, Dave.
Oh, fine. he pokes at stranger children with a stick in the woods.
He gets into
it was like,
yeah, the sweatiest, most awkward, fucking maladroit stick sword fight with 2 little girls, and it's creepy and weird and impossible.
Yeah,
it would never happen.
My only note was like, get away from those children.
Yeah, it would never happen.
They're looking for a snake and they're like poking it, and he's like, how'd you feel if you got poked at? And starts poking at the kids with a stick, and I was expecting like, you know, an adult to get involved.
Expecting him to get maced.
Yeah.
By someone.
Or like the kid to do like the clear like stranger danger thing she was taught and like kick him in the balls and run.
Yeah.
But no, he just pokes at these 2 little girls with a stick.
Mm-hmm. It's really stupid.
It's really stupid. And you know, if you want to see it, you can go to thecubemovie.com and pay some weird website.
Yeah.
I definitely looked up the website to make sure it
it's legit.
Was legit.
Yeah.
But that was only after I gave it my credit card. Gumroad.com is like where you give them money.
Sure.
It was founded by a 19-year-old, if that makes you feel better.
Yeah, I got to this webpage and hit play, and it was like, please enter your payment information. So it's the first thing I texted Dave. I was like, absolutely not. I'm not giving this fucking website my credit card number.
Yeah, but it was Gumroad, so it's all right.
Sure, it's probably fine. You probably won't get a bunch of weird charges. In Eastern Europe.
Yeah, no, Gumroad is out. It's out of San Francisco, founded by a 19-year-old. I'm on its Wikipedia.
Nothing you're telling me is instilling confidence. I've got to be honest.
Its marketplace is decentralized, whatever that means. So check out Gumroad.com, everybody. Are we done?
Yes, we're finished.
Okay. Holy crap. Hey, thanks, Burrito Mouth.
I guess.
For continuing this by making us watch this cube. The next cube we have to watch is 1969's The Big Cube, which is a real movie.
Wow, thank God for that.
Yeah, 1969 movie. It does not have good reviews, but it's a real movie.
At least it's a real movie. I can't take too much more of this experimental horseshit.
It's got 22% on Rotten Tomatoes, which I feel is rare for an old movie. Because, like, old movies, like, you know, by default are good.
Well, they didn't... Not as many got released every year.
Yeah.
Way less movies used to come out each year.
Yeah, this is...
There's a fucking 2,000 movies a year now.
Right. This is 1969's The Big Cube starring Lana Turner.
Okay.
So heads up, everybody get excited for that. All right. So yeah, thanks Burrito Mouth. This was through our Patreon. If you're interested, you can go to patreon.com/gamefullyunemployed. We have exclusive podcasts on there, like Tom and Jeff Watch Batman and Fox Mulder's a Maniac and Star Trek The Next Futurama. It's all for $5 a month. We also have tiers where you can get your own special We Just Watched. Also, it just opened up and might be gone by tomorrow, but our podcast producer tier, one of them opened up, where you can produce 2 podcasts a month about anything you want. People love making us watch stuff, but you can literally, it could be about anything.
It doesn't have to be us watching anything. Yeah, it could be about anything.
It could be about, like, I don't know, the Bible. You want to read the Bible, Tom? You want to do a Bible podcast?
I might veto that.
Yeah, I think it would be for the record.
It would depend on the request.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. And there'd also be nothing less entertaining than listening to me stumble through the Bible.
Yeah, we don't know shit about. I mean, maybe that's why they only have been asking us to watch stuff, because they know we don't know jack fucking shit about anything else.
Oh yeah. No. I applaud them for having that bar nice and low.
Yeah.
Where they're like, you like movies, right?
Yeah.
Do movie stuff.
You guys are kind of good at one thing.
Yeah. No. You can make it about anything, but yeah, like, if you want to hear us be like about a couple of dumb fucks, yeah.
I mean, we have
do
a
it
whole
about philosophy or some shit.
Man, we have 3 years of that. If you just want to listen, there's like 1,000 hours of us being dumb fucks.
That's true.
We also have a store at tpublic.com/stores/gamefullyunemployed where you can get t-shirts, masks, mugs, stickers, posters, all kinds of stuff, except for 3 less stuffs that we just got a takedown notice over.
Because Warner Brothers is upset
Warner
with
Brothers.
us.
Yeah, piece of shit.
Yeah. I mean, I wasn't too happy with Warner Brothers already, and now it's personal.
Yeah, now it's personal. Now it's Jaws the Revenge.
Yeah. We're gonna have to find those I guess the Warner Brothers.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Are they still around?
Yeah, they're still in the water tower as far as I know.